Hello, this is Father Michael Nasser coming to you from St. Nicholas Orthodox Church here in Grand Rapids, Michigan for this week's Midweek Reflection. And this week I am reflecting on, believe it or not, Christmas. I know, crazy. There I was last night at 9:25 p.m. on June 21st watching the sunset, and it was 92 degrees. So you might say, what in the heck does that have to do with Christmas? Well, yesterday was the longest day of the year, the summer solstice, the time when the Earth's axis tips enough. I won't do the whole science project explanation. However, yesterday was the longest day of the year, which means that today will be shorter than yesterday, and all the days will get shorter and shorter and shorter until just after Christmas, actually just before Christmas, at the winter solstice, when we'll have the shortest day of the year, therefore the longest night of the year. Now, the early Christians chose that specifically. One of the reasons they chose that time was this was the time of the coming of the light, when the light would grow stronger and stronger every day. And what better time of year to celebrate the birth of Christ, who is the Son, S-O-N, who comes to us like the sun, S-U-N. And as the sun, S-U-N, grows and grows and grows throughout the year, why not begin that with the coming of the Christ? We're on the opposite side of that, which means that from now until the winter solstice, just before Christmas, the nights are going to be getting longer and the days are going to be getting shorter. This is, in a sense, a growing darkness. Now, we are in a time when a lot of people feel like things are getting dark. They're seeing war, they're seeing inflation, we're seeing all kinds of problems in society, and we're wondering, like, what is going wrong? Well, the reality is that when Christ came back, on the one sense, the light was growing because Christ is the light of the world. And he told us, you are the light of the world. And so in that sense, the light has been growing since the birth of Christ. However, by his teaching and preaching, we also know that darkness is growing. He told us that the days are evil. And when you read the Gospels, and especially you read the book of Revelation, you understand that this world is not going to be the utopia that a lot of people want it to be. We're getting ready into election season very soon, coming up to the November elections, and we're going to hear everyone, all these candidates, tell us how they're going to make this world a better place. Well, they might make improvements here or there, maybe. Typically they promise and often don't fulfill. But the reality is this world, by and large, is not going to get better. This is not where we as Christians look for salvation to be found. We don't look for it in this world. We look for it from Christ, who came to this world, who is, yes, redeeming this world. That's why, in one sense, the light is growing. But Jesus called Satan the prince of this world. And so in that sense, the darkness is going to grow, just like these nights are going to get longer and longer from now till the end of December, or near the end of December. We have to think about that spiritually. Not that we get dark, quite the opposite. Even though darkness of the world might grow, it doesn't matter to us. Why? Because the light is growing in us. The light of Christ, where Christ is born, not just born in Bethlehem, born in us. We put him on in our baptism. That light is growing. And so if the light in us is growing, does it really matter that the world is becoming a darker place? The reality is it doesn't matter. And so even though it's darker in the sense of things aren't going well in a worldly sense, we had a pandemic, we'll probably have another pandemic at some point. We will all have more wars. We're going to have more problems. Terrible earthquakes. We had a terrible earthquake last night in Afghanistan. This world is, in some ways, falling apart. But for us as Christians, that doesn't matter. What matters is that we hold on to the light that is Christ, and if we follow him, that light is always going to be growing. So that no matter what darkness is growing around us, if the light inside of us is growing, then we deal with all of that. We're not bothered by it. We're saddened for things. We don't want people to suffer. We do what we can to help alleviate suffering, but we don't expect this world to become the utopia that people who don't believe in God are looking for it to be. We don't need it to be a utopia because we belong to the kingdom. And Christ is the King. He is born, and if we allow him, we'll grow his presence in us. And someday, at the end of all time, he is going to usher in his kingdom forever and ever, which is perfect. That's the world we're looking for. That's our orientation. That kingdom, not a kingdom in this world, not our own country or another country. We are citizens of these countries, but primarily we're citizens of the kingdom of heaven. And that kingdom is ruled by the King, our God and his Son, Jesus Christ, brought to us and made present to us by his Holy Spirit. So, it's a growing darkness, but as long as within us there's growing light, we have joy, we have peace, we have all the things that we need, because Christ is, as we say at Christmas, God is with us through the fact that Christ is here and now brought to us in the presence of the Holy Spirit that we celebrate in this Feast of Pentecost. So there's growing darkness, but in us there's growing light, and that makes our life joyful if we'll allow Christ to bring that light into our lives, no matter what's happening around us. God bless you. I hope you found that helpful, and if so, please share it with your friends via social media, and we will see you, God willing, in next week's video.